In the meantime, David, would you care to do your weekly reading?
Yes, I would, and thank you. This one this week is a little bit off color. It's about, does the universe care about us? And Stephen Crane wrote, "A man said to the universe, 'Sir, I exist.' 'However,' replied the universe, 'the fact has not created in me a sense of obligation.'" Winston Hugh Auden did an expansion of that poem, and even though he's one of my favorite poets, I had no idea that he had such an incredible sense of humor and that he brought that sense of humor to his poetry. Here goes. "Looking up at the stars, I know quite well that for all they care, I can go to hell. But on earth, indifference is the least we have to dread from man or beast. How should we like it were stars to burn with a passion for us we could not return? If equal affection cannot be, let the more loving one be me. Admirer as I think I am of stars that do not give a damn, I cannot, now I see them, say I missed one terribly all day. Were all stars to disappear or die, I should learn to look at an empty sky and feel its total dark sublime, though this might take me a little time." Thank you very much.
Very good, David.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Now, Stephen Crane, is he the same Stephen Crane for the Red Badge of Courage?
I'm not sure. I will look it up, but
Okay, because
I
that's
am not sure.
okay. But I think that's I had to ask that because the name is similar. Okay.
Well, better the red badge of courage than the scarlet letter. So, okay.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, with that, let me read our opening a prayer I'll do it in English today. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. You have sanctified us through your commandments and commanded us to busy ourselves in things of Torah. Amen.
Amen.
Well, I guess we are about to start in the book of Numbers, chapter 32. And we would be leading off with verse 1. And I'll wait for people to catch up and then we'll begin. And David, since you have your book out already, I'll let you start your reading.
Okay, shall I start it now?
Sure. Yeah, I guess so. By now, everyone has found a page.
It's Numbers 32, and you want me to go from verse 1?
Verse 1. Let's stop at the end of verse 5.
Okay, here we go. Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of cattle. And when they saw the land of Jazer, and the land of Gilead, that behold, the place was a place for cattle, the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spoke unto Moses and to Eleazar the priest, and saying, Ataroth and Dibon, and Jezer, and Nimrah, and Heshbon, and Eliel, and Sabam, and Nebo, and Beon, the land which the Lord smote before the congregation of Israel, is a land for cattle, and thy servants have cattle. And they said, If we have found favor in thy sight, let this land be given unto thy servants for a possession. Bring us not over the Jordan.
Okay. Any comments about this?
I won't necessarily give a comment about the text,
Okay.
but if If the name Atarot, which
Uh-huh.
is the first in verse 3, sounds familiar to anyone, Atarot was the neighborhood or the suburb of Jerusalem that had a small municipal airport for a while. It has still gone defunct, but I flew into there once on a flight from Haifa to Atarot. Okay, I don't. It's not functioning anymore. But that was the Jerusalem Municipal Airport for a while. Was in
Wow.
Atarot, but
Very
it's
interesting.
not. It's not the same place. Obviously,
Got
we're
it.
not talking about the Judean hills
Right.
for here, but they picked up that name.
Well,
The
wondering if the airport was there during the time of Numbers. I'm pretty sure that Ben Gurion Airport was not there yet.
No, nor was it named Ben Gurion Airport at
Yeah,
the time.
Sure.
yeah.
Very interesting. Anything about that's in anything strike you with
Not
this?
striking, but just to point out that I think the translation that David read said at the beginning that they had cattle in great numbers, but it's actually flocks. It's more than just cattle.
Right.
It's all domesticated animals that they have with them. Yeah.
So is there a lot of grassland up in that region?
Yes,
Ah,
that's grazing. That's the grazing territory
got it.
in present day Golan Heights. Yeah.
One of the things, and that I think is important. Important is, uh, I am in a way, I think and I'm not. This is not definitely not political. What I'm about to say. That area, okay, where the Gadites and the Reubenites are settling. What country is there at this point in time? Rabbi, you're muted.
If it's the Golan Heights is mostly Israel now and Syria.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And if that is the case, and we are reading about the Reuben and the Gadites being in that region, uh, here we are several generations, okay, many generations later, uh, disputing these areas that are part of the areas that the Israelites originally settled.
Who is
So,
disputing?
Israel versus the Arab nations.
Yes, so
So the question I have to raise,
Marty, if I can just throw in a Manishtana,
sure, yeah,
right? What else is new? Okay, all right.
okay, but
Amy has
are we?
Amy has a map that's upside down for us, but okay.
And backwards too.
Right, right.
But if that's the case, are we really what happened? I have to ask the question. I do not know the entire history, but what happens to the Gadites and Reubenites that live in those areas historically? Are they taken over by the Babylonians? No.
No, it's the Assyrians. They're
Later.
those tribes.
Later.
No, earlier,
Oh, earlier. Okay.
earlier.
Okay. So the Assyrians
Mm-hmm.
at that time.
Yeah.
And so it it would seem so they were taken over. What happened to were they killed? Were they assimilated into the area?
Yes, yes, and yes, and yes. Just like all the other tribes.
And
That's where we start talking of the
okay,
10 lost tribes.
did they ever convert to Islam?
Convert. What's that? Convert?
Did they
To
ever
what?
convert to Islam? Because if they, is this
Yeah, we're a
conflict?
thousand years before Islam.
Yes, I know, but did they ever later on? Did they ever
Well, they had
convert?
lost their identity, so I mean, it's hard to say
It's
whether
hard to say.
they did or didn't.
Right.
Right.
Because if you look at the territory, the thought struck me in reading all of this, uh, are is are we fighting distant cousins?
Well, all the world is cousins. It's
No, but you know it struck me, and then it's almost like a family feud, if you will. Who has control over what? And that's why I asked the question because it keeps coming up again and again and again. And I don't know if that if that has been looked at.
You know what, Marty? Your question is so global that it's quite amazing. If you look at the borders in Europe, Germany and Austria and Czechoslovakia and Serbia and all, every time they move from side to
Yeah.
side to side, I read a book which is really wonderful called Estonia. Really, really good book.
Yeah, that area
Was
too,
at
the
the
borders were
center. And
constantly
these people
changing.
spoke like 4 or 5 languages because every time there was
That's right.
someone else controlling the area. Um, so it's a kind, to your question, who controls? I would say those that have the stronger weapons. I don't, uh,
That's true, but when you look back at history, that's why it crossed my mind. If we go back far enough, maybe somehow if we did some genetic testing, we would find out an answer to this question. I don't know. But it just struck me as I was reading this the other day. So that's just a side.
Well, those with the longest declared history in that area are the Druze, actually.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
As what? Because they're that part of
They're
the Golan Heights and everything.
unrelated to the state government. Right. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. So you start wondering about the different people in the region. If you go back far enough, are they all related? You start one. Well, anyway,
Mhm.
that's something to think about. If any other comments?
Where exactly are we, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. We have read Numbers 32 verses 1 through 5. So let's go on to verses 6 through the end of 15.
Would you like me to read that?
Unless somebody else raises a hand, you've got it. Okay. Go
Okay,
ahead.
going
Go
on.
ahead,
My
David.
twice. Okay. And Moses said unto the children of Gad, and to the children of Reuben, shall your brethren go to the war, and shall ye sit here? And wherefore will ye turn away the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord hath given them? Thus did your fathers when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. For when they went up into the valley of Eshcol and saw the land, they turned away the heart of the children of Israel. They should not go into the land which the Lord had given them. And the Lord's anger was kindled in that day, and he swore, saying, surely none of the men that came out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swore unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, and Joshua the son of Nun, because they have wholly followed the Lord. And the Lord's anger was kindled against Israel, and he made them wander to and fro in the wilderness 40 years, until all the generation that had done evil in the sight of the Lord was confused. And behold, you are risen up in your father's stead, a brood of sinful men, to augment yet the fierce anger of the Lord towards Israel. For if he turn away from after him, he will yet again leave them in the wilderness, and so he will destroy all this people.
Okay. Any comments? You know, I always say that.
Moses is starting to lose it.
Okay, why do you say that?
Getting a little impatient.
Yes.
Jumping to conclusions.
Hmm. Oh, this is what happens in old age.
Hmm. Yep. No
He's
arguments
very
there.
human. He's very human.
Yep.
But what? Well, any other comments about that?
Well, where it says back in Genesis that God created us in his own image, or in her own image, maybe Moses is simply trying to say that God might be the one who's starting to lose it, whose anger is being kindled quite often against Israel. But if that's the case, then maybe Rabbi Norm, you are right that that Moses really is starting to lose it. So accusing God of starting to lose it.
So, and also there's a little fear that if he goes along with these two groups, that it will invoke the wrath of God.
Well, it'll invoke the wrath. That's what he's saying. He said,
Yeah.
if I accede to your request to not to participate in the conquest, that will incur the wrath of God, because then all of us are not trying to fulfill God's desire or God's command. And Moses is also concerned about what that will do to the morale of the rest of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very, very actual contemporary copy, don't you think, Norm? Israel is fighting necessarily or not necessarily, I'm not going to go into that, but people are coming and fighting, and there is a large group of people that don't want to go to the war because
For
they're
various
sad.
for various reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the larger group is because they are the army of God, and they just don't want to serve. So are you part of of the enterprise or the war that's going on, or you're going to sit there and have other people fighting for you? So this is the kind of thing, do you want to separate yourself and not being part of what's going on? And what are the rest of the world are going to say about it? They took you out of Egypt and you settle in this wonderful land because it's a very, very good land there. And you're just sitting there while the rest of the people are fighting. Um, and that's also the issue of, I think I mentioned that I read that people were not called Israel, Bnei Israel, but they were called the Reuvenite and the Gadite, and more by the name of the tribe. So here is an example that, I'm a Reuveni, I think maybe that's a connection there. I don't know. But there is an anger that comes from you sit here, you're already there, and they're already there. They don't have to fight for land. Uh, it's a complicated situation there.
Sure. And can you, in some ways, Moses is also reminding the Reubenites and Gadites, and I'll call them that, right? At this point, of the situation with the spies that were sent in to scout
Mhm.
the land of Canaan, and the only two of the spies that were that wound up telling the truth of what they saw was Joshua and Caleb. The others sort of said this would be too difficult a task. And, even though God had already said that this would be, he would help lead everyone in the war. So so yes, I think that there are several different reasons that that Moses would be trying to remind everyone about the problems of disobeying what God has commanded. And that's how I would. That's a précis of a précis. Anyway, any other comments? Okay. Michael, would you care to read? Would you be able to today? It depends on your eyes. You're muted, Michael.
Yeah. I'll get.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'll read for a while. We're at 16.
Yes.
Yeah. Then they stepped up to him and said, we will build here sheep folds for our flocks and our towns for our children. And then we will hasten as shock troops into the van of the Israelites until they have established them in their home, while our children stay in fortified towns because of the inhabitants of the land. We will not return to our homes until every one of the Israelites is in possession of his portion. But we will not have a sure share with them in territory beyond the Jordan. For we have received our share on the east side of the Jordan.
Okay. That's a good place to stop. Any discussion or comments?
Yeah, I mean, we'll pick up with it in the next paragraph or whatever,
Sure.
but they, the, the rabbis who are already, for whatever reason, are already leaning somewhat against these two tribes, you point out that they're more worried about the economics than they are about their families.
Right.
Okay, they're gonna build, they're gonna protect the sheep and the cattle first before protecting the women and the children. Now, that may just be a turn of the phrase, but it's the kind of thing that the commentators pick up
That's
on.
right. So it is one of the things that crossed my mind was that this also plays into the prophecy of Jacob on his deathbed when he's describing Reuben, and he doesn't think of the clan, the people, as much as attaining personal goals. He wants rank and leadership and all these things. This goes way back. He's not there now. It's he's passed away, but the his flock, if you will, the family tends to lean in that, it seems to lean in the same direction, thinking of themselves in a material way than in what about all the rest of the people and the family, your family, your children, things like that. And I'm just trying to create another idea for thought. Any comments from the rabbis?
No,
Okay,
not yet.
not yet. Okay. So, so, uh, thank you, Michael. Would you like to read on, Michael, maybe to the end of 24?
Okay. Moses said to them, if you do this, if you go to battle as shock troops at the instance of the Lord, and every shock fighter among you, his enemies before him, and the land has been subdued at the instance of the Lord, and then you return, you shall be clear before the Lord and before Israel. And this land shall be your holding under the Lord. But if you do not do this, you you will have sinned against the Lord, and know that your sin will overtake you. Build towns for your children and sheepfolds for your flocks. But do what you have promised.
Okay. Do you see before in what the rabbi was talking about was that that these two tribes were putting the economy before the welfare of their people. But when Moses says it, what happens?
Flips it.
That he reverses it. He talks about the need for the children, the wives, and then uh, he is he winds up talking about the cattle later on.
Yeah. Now we don't know whether that's a major
Right.
condition of agreement or whether that's just like I said before, a turn of the phrase.
Sure.
We're not
Sure.
really sure.
We don't know.
Yeah, another thing, Marty, that doesn't necessarily play up. Some of us have that translation of like shock troops,
Yes,
but the implication is that they're the front, they're
they're in the front line.
the front line.
Yeah,
Right, that they'll be at the very front of the battle. That's what they're offering.
very good.
So this is kind of a negotiation, actually.
Sure,
You know,
sure. Which shouldn't have been necessary in the first place.
right?
If they were truly into this whole concept, why are they doing this? You know. But anyway, any other comments here? Okay, David, we'll go back to you, and if you would care to read verses 28 through the end of 30.
Okay, here we are, 28. So Moses gave charge concerning them to Eleazar the priest and to Joshua the son of Nun and to the heads of the fathers' houses of the tribes of the children of Israel. And Moses said unto them, if the children of Gad and the children of Reuben will pass with you over the Jordan, every man that is armed to battle before the Lord, and the land shall be subdued before you, then you shall give them the land of Gilead for a possession. But if they will not pass over with you armed, then shall have possessions among you in the land of Canaan.
Okay, that's sort of, any comments? So if they refuse, they're not going to get their wish. Yes, Rabbi.
Yeah, it's interesting that this, again, if I put it in the context of negotiation, that the other person who's involved in the negotiation is Eleazar, is the priest rather than Joshua the general.
Right.
Okay, um, because the assumption is that the allocation of the land is fulfilling God's instruction, God's wish. Therefore, it's a holy thing rather than a military thing.
Right.
Okay, so so Eleazar is at Moses's. It's like he's this he it's the it's the priest is there rather than the Secretary of Defense or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Right. The Department of State?
Well, I don't
No,
know
not
because
quite.
because it does have that. It does have the religious or the sacred,
Right.
and I certainly don't think that the Secretary of State necessarily has that,
No.
unless you're talking about the Vatican. So
That's right.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I'm coming back to today. You have a group of people, large group of people that are on that side of the Jordan, where Gad and Reuben is, in the name of the religion, not in the name of having posts that are going to protect the land, the state of Israel, but just in the name, this is the land that was given to us by God. So you have groups of people today sitting in that kind of same struggle that you see here. You have Joshua and you have Eleazar, and I think that they are kind of competing with the wish to do certain things when they come to the land of Canaan. Um, there was a party which today the prime minister belongs to, in which they always wanted to have the two sides of the Jordan. And they wanted that because, as we see here, it's a religious thing. It's a Elazar thing that won here the war maybe to convince the people you better do this, otherwise you're going to be punished by God. I like to see here the tension and compare of how these things play today.
Good point. Any other comments?
In the night, at the 19th, I think it was the 1967 war in Israel. I could talk about that for a moment. The I think the whole Arab nation attacked Israel on, I think it was on three sides, and for some reason, Israel emerged victorious over that. And even today, there are generals trying to understand how that actually happened. I think it was Moshe Dayan who was in charge of that, who was prosecuting that or in charge of it. And so it makes me think that how history sometimes dissipates. People don't remember and try to do it again in ways where we see it today. And it's something that I think about, and it's just it's very difficult to understand that others who try to take Israel, they can't do it. They just cannot do it.
Okay. Yeah, yes, Rabbi.
Yeah, I think some of the history that Michael is referring to may wind up over the next couple weeks, may wind up being in the news again,
Yes.
if indeed, if indeed there are these backdoor negotiations for some kind of an agreement between the new Syrian government and Israel, or for Syria to join the Abraham Accords and whatever it is, there's going to be there are going to be calls for returning the Golan Heights and and whatever. That's going to be part of the negotiation.
It's going to be there are going to be difficult points for both sides to reconcile. But yes, overall, I'm very I
Yeah,
hope
those
what you
those
say.
those who have met
Yeah.
those who have met the community shliach, shlicha Yuval Malka, who
Yes,
was based at the
that's right.
JCC. She grew up in a kibbutz, or I believe a kibbutz, not a moshav,
She
on the
mentioned
Golan
that.
Heights.
Yes.
That's where she's from. So she
So
would have some interesting insights
yeah,
if indeed that comes to play.
it'll be. I hope something positive comes out of this. So fighting for too many
We
years.
all do. Mhm.
Yeah. Uh, I lost my train. Okay. Any other comments? I lost my train of thought and I also lost our place. I think I have it now. But any other comments? Okay. So let's see. Michael, you just read, but why don't you read uh, verses 31 through the end of 42?
The Gadites and Reubenites said in reply, "Whatever the Lord has spoken concerning his servants, that will do. We ourselves will cross over the shock troops, and at the instance of the Lord enter the land of Canaan. We will keep our fidelity holding across the Jordan. So Moses assigned them to the Gadites and Reubenites, and half the tribe of Manasseh, son of Joseph, the king of Sihon, the king of Amorites, and the kingdom of King Og of Bashan. The land with its various cities and the territories of the surrounding towns. The Gadites rebuilt Dubin, Athroth, Arar, Roth, Shibhan, Tisar, Jekhab, Beth, Betherah, and Beth Haran as fortified towns or as enclosures for flocks. The Reubenites rebuilt Ashan, Elah, Kethem, Nebo, Baal, Minan, some names being changed. They can change them all for I care. And they gave their own names to towns they rebuilt. The descendants of Machar, son of Manasseh, went to Gilad and captured it, deposing the Amorites who were therefore. So Moses gave Gilad and Achiah, son of Manasseh, and settled there. Jerah, son of Manasseh, went and captured their villages, which he renamed Jar. And Noba went and captured Kenneth and dependents, renaming it Noba after himself.
Okay.
Sorry about the pronunciations.
It's all right, Michael. It can be tricky. It can be tricky. Any comments about that?
Well, I'm just reading now a book, keep reading, a new book by, well, it's not so new, by Friedman, Elliot Friedman. And it's called The Hidden Book of the Torah, which is super, super interesting. But it's in the part of Joshua conquering. And so all this stuff appears there. The king of Og, the king of the Bashan, and so forth. So it's kind of, we have a different repetition of how this was done. At Joshua, there are very clear instructions how they come in and how they conquer the cities and all the technical stuff of the military. So it's like we always say that there is no beginning or end. In Joshua, they don't mention, at least what I read by now, all these places and how they rebuild. It's more about destroying and hanging those kings of these places. So I find it fascinating since I'm reading that. And I truly recommend to read that. It's a new way of thinking about Torah.
Thank you.
But it's a different, it's the places are the places, but not the how and the intention what to do with them. And
that occurs quite frequently.
yeah, and the way of crossing is nothing to do with putting Reuven and Gad in the front and so forth. Actually, the ark is in the front.
Sure. Yes, Rabbi Norman.
So in verse, I guess it's 33, all of a sudden, in addition to Gad and Reuven, all of a sudden
Menashe.
there's Manasseh,
Uh-huh.
okay,
Yeah.
who haven't participated in any of the negotiations.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the first time that comes
Yeah.
up. That's right.
Right. And so the commentators come along and they say that it's interesting. It's an interesting characteristic of the tribe of Manasseh going back to the incident of Jacob blessing Ephraim
Right.
and Manasseh. Manasseh, who was the older, but Jacob crosses his
Yes.
hands, and
Yes.
Manasseh doesn't say anything, doesn't stand up for what would rightfully be his. He just defers to the other, or the more powerful, or the
Right.
more verbal, whatever it might be. And that pattern continues here also. Manasseh just kind of sitting on the sidelines and will take whatever comes. That's their lot, so to speak.
Right.
But where is Ephraim? We're talking about God
Well,
and
Ephraim is within is west of
And
the Jordan.
the west
yeah,
of
We're
the
only
but
we're only talking of Manasseh that wants to
yeah,
go
he's
with
half and half.
right.
But we're talking about Gad and Reuben. We're not talking about Ephraim, Gad, and Reuben.
No, but Ephraim is on the west is west of the Jordan,
Right.
and
Completely.
Manasseh. It's
Is
not that they
yeah.
that they get half allocation. They're
Mhm.
they're full tribe, but they're only considered uh, uh, you know uh, the two of them together because become
Oh,
one
okay.
of the
Because it's
10.
Yosef.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Or one
Thank
of the 12, I should say, not one of the 10. Yeah.
you.
what I found interesting in Plaut, there's a footnote that he has after all the naming of these different regions, uh, and it's and this goes back to verse 3 in all of this, but the towns are being repeated here too, and a footnote here is that some of these cities were recaptured from Israel by King Mesha of Moab in the 9th century BCE amidst a great massacre. The record of this campaign was inscribed by the king on a stone, which was discovered in 1868, and which is so far the most extensive single record of the Moabite language closely related to Hebrew.
Must be.
So just as an aside, it wasn't all a bed of roses. Okay, and obviously, if there are Moabites that survived everything, they came back
Yeah.
to try to nullify what had happened before. So,
Mhm.
and this is if you think about it, this commentary comes up again and again. How do you prevent uh, a group from rising up again and giving you the same issues again and again and again? And it is we see it in the current events. We see it and throughout world history, you see this type of behavior. Uh, maybe it's part of human nature that we don't want to kill everyone.
Good.
I say that, it is, and that's a good aspect of it. And
You
maybe
know, Marty, what we say, מהפה שלך לאוזן של אלוהים. From your mouth to the ear of God. That,
okay, but no, maybe he wants we commented on this before, that maybe he with a capital H wants us to debate this issue. If he wants, maybe to enter into that, a wrestling match, if you will. Why is it so important? There are arguments that, oh, well, if we don't kill everyone, they're bound to rise up again and do it again. Okay, but can we teach a new way of living together?
That's
Yeah,
the,
of course, Marty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you have to,
Well, but
maybe,
if you
maybe
look
God
at
wants that discussion.
the issues are, revenge,
Sure,
being offended,
yeah,
being diminished, uh, being religious, being wanting oil, uh, all kind of
sure.
triggers. So you have economics and you have that, but the issue of we were defeated will grow and will show you. The issue of revenge, in my mind, I started thinking that jealousy and revenge are the main characteristics of human beings. That sometimes we don't see it, but they are there. Uh, I want more. I want this.
Yeah.
I want, greed. So these guys were offended when they were defeated. They were, they show weakness. So why not to come and revenge? And that's how it goes.
And yet, maybe God is still waiting for, or, for the discussion that we had in the book of Genesis, Cain's main question, am I my brother's keeper?
But I can
Maybe
tell
that
you that
has
the
to be
first thing
discussed
is
today.
killing him.
Excuse me?
The
I'm
first thing that happened was murdering him
sure, that's right.
before.
But God never answers Cain. He answers Cain's second question, what's going to become of me? That's sort of materialistic too, and selfish, and worried about himself.
Uh,
Yes, go ahead, Rabbi.
well, I'm
You
going
can
to.
see where I'm headed with this
Well, of
discussion.
course, I see where you're headed, but I'm going to jump in a little bit, not to
Sure.
defend Cain, but to just acknowledge there's another way of looking at Cain's response,
Mm-hmm.
both physical and verbal. As Rabbi Miri said, there'd never been not only there'd never been a murder, there'd never been a death
Mm-hmm.
before. So you can interpret Cain's response. God says, "Your brother's blood is crying out to me." And Cain's response isn't a question, it's an exclamation. I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand what happened. I didn't know that I'm responsible for my brother. I just didn't know. Now the question is, what have I learned from this experience? Okay. And God imposes a certain amount of punishment or acts that should lead towards repentance and
Mm-hmm.
and however you want to carry the story on through. But in there are those who would say that the inclination is not necessarily towards power or with jealousy and and greed, that it's more of trying to figure out what's the best way to have a relationship and what are the best values or characteristics on which that relationship can be based. Hopefully it's not on the negative, but hopefully it's in a search for the positive
Mm-hmm.
or the, as God describes it to Moses to tell the people, or in a search for the holy,
Okay.
the meaningful and the special and the respectful.
Yeah, but what we see is that the whole development there is based on the fact that Abel's sacrifice was accepted and his
Right.
was not. So, so there is, I know that the Torah develops this issue of Retzach Bishgaga, that it was a mistake, that I didn't want to kill him. And they differentiate between, in English we said, misdemeanor and the other,
Felony.
right.
Right.
So here, let's say, okay, it was misdemeanor. I didn't intend. I didn't know that he's going to die. It's complicated because if he justifies even harming, it reminds me my kids in middle school when I worked there. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know. I wasn't aware that that's going to happen. But it's a good
I
point.
need to tell you an interesting illustration of this. I did a little experiment. I think they were fourth or fifth graders back when I ran Sunday schools and and whatever. And we took the story, the Cain and the Abel story, recognizing that in the text there are things that are left out. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Like we don't know what Cain said to Abel. We don't know what Abel said to Cain. So I said, okay, we're going to do like an improv performance, and there were four or five little groups. Each of them were supposed to improvise and act out what happened, and only one of the groups played it out as the the jealousy. How come God likes yours more than mine? The other three or four all played it out, but they didn't want to go in that direction. They went in the direction of Cain saying to Abel, "Hey, show me what I did wrong. God obviously likes yours. Tell me, help me figure out what I did wrong." And then Abel, and then it's like you said, it's some kind of an unintentional, accidental, a fall or this or reaching for something, and they four of the five or three of the four, they did not want to get it into a hateful thing. They all tried to find a different way to understand the story, and I found great. I found great
Yeah.
satisfaction and renewal in that experience.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's nice. I like bibliodrama.
Yeah.
Yeah, it explains.
And these
It's
are,
like
young
yeah,
kids. And they
yeah.
certainly knew what sibling rivalry was.
Oh.
That's true.
Now maybe they were trying to play it up for the rabbi also.
Yeah, I'm nice. In middle school, they don't give a damn.
Uh-huh.
I just find it interesting. If these people were very observant, remember they have to, one of the interpretations to Adam and is, that they're going to have to look after all of the herds of animals that are around them. You would think that at some time they would have seen that each type of animal learns a way of very quickly of how it gets along with its own group.
Mhm.
We have a harder time doing that as human beings.
But you know what, Marty? One of the differences between us and the rest of the animals is our ability to see what's going to be, what's the consequence of our behavior. Yeah, if you're not adult enough in your head, you don't do that. You know, kids don't think that if they fail middle school, they're not going to high school. And that kind of looking forward we have, and we can also see the consequence and what brought to it, which is a way that I think that animals do not have.
Correct. But if that were the case in Cain's story, uh, he would have said that maybe he would have realized what was going on around him. He would have been more observant and said, well, there are different ways to get along,
Well, he
to
didn't have
see the
any,
future.
yeah, he didn't have
He's
any example.
not thinking of about the future. It's here and now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and when you do that, that prevents you from trying to visualize other possibilities to the future.
Yep.
Okay, and maybe that is a major flaw that Cain has, as opposed to that he didn't, I'm trying to be more specific because we all have a tendency when things don't go the right way for us, we don't look at our future actions. And this comes up repeatedly in Torah that when people say something or do something, they're not look they be out of anger or out of fear or things like that. They're not thinking out what the future possibilities would be of their actions.
And you know what, Marty? It started with Adam and Eve.
Yes,
They
yes,
did not think about what's going to happen if.
if that's right. And so it becomes an interesting discussion in and of itself about human nature. That's something the philosophers have had tons of joy speaking about throughout the ages. But I don't know if there's a definite answer other than don't do unto others what you do not want done to you.
Unforeseen consequences.
Yeah. Yes, Amy. I'll come back to you, Michael, but Amy has had her hand
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Many children and some adults don't have the ability to project into the future. It's too abstract. It isn't here now, and they can't. It's just so foreign to them that it's just not a part of their thought processes. And children can outgrow this as they mature, but the problem comes into adulthood when you're still stuck there
Yes.
and the future doesn't have meaning, cause and effect, consequences, when they can't grasp it. And that's a real disability.
It's one of the things I just want to comment about an observation I made when we were in Africa. And, people, they had to walk miles to get water, to get food, to get medical care. I mean, and so it's what you could carry back. That's what they were thinking of. However, there is one thing that is common when you speak with people from around the world. They want a better world for their children. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, what group of people you speak with or anything. That's number one. They basically want a roof over their head, food and water, okay, and for their children to grow up. And maybe the focus should be on the children.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
That's
Yep.
all I'm going to say.
Marty,
Yes.
excuse me. I got a call that I'm going to have to
Okay.
get involved with, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to get back. So can we take a pause for a minute? Rabbi Miri's here and talk through the next couple of weeks then?
Sure, I will do that. I'll do, yeah, we'll shift. We're at the end of this, so
Yeah, we
it's
just finished, we
place
finished
to,
not only finished the chapter, but finished the parsha,
yes.
so, yeah.
And you have through the there are a couple of weeks towards the end of June, towards the middle of June that you have some difficulties with. Is that right?
Yeah, I can lead the next 3 weeks if
Okay.
necessary.
Will you be here in 4 weeks,
You talking to
Rabbi
me or to Rabbi Miri?
Rabbi Mary?
I'm not going to be here the 21st. I'm going to Disneyland. I go to the 20, yeah, we're going the 22nd. So it's the weekend of the 21st
Okay.
Of June.
of June.
Okay, then
In May, I'm
neither
here.
of us would be here that day.
Okay, so that's 6/21. Well, Marty, are you here at that time?
Well, I will be back, but Sue will be recovering from surgery.
Okay.
And so I don't know for sure. So it's better if somebody else who can be here leads. If not, why don't we take a vacation that weekend and then I can pick up after that?
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
To me,
So,
it does.
I'll lead the 24th, the 31st, and the 7th.
Of May.
The 24th and 31st of May and the 7th of June.
Okay.
But then I won't be here the following 2 weeks.
Okay. So, okay, and so
I'll
Rabbi,
be here. I'll be here. I'm leaving July 1st.
okay. So what I'm going to suggest is that as long as somebody is going to be leading, there's no reason to put a pause on it for the entire duration, but maybe we can for the day after Rabbi Miri does hers, if I am available, I'll do it. It all depends on Sue, how she's doing. So I just don't want to commit yet to that day. But
So Rabbi Miri's going to lead on the 14th. That's
But
it.
this is next week, right?
No, June 14th,
June
in a month.
14th? Yeah, I'm fine, June 14th.
okay. And then we'll wait and see how things unfold, but I can't promise anything.
And
Uh,
the question is the 21st, which I'm definitely not available.
Neither am I.
okay. So why don't we put that one on hold? And let me send a note to Stacy. That no Torah study on the 21st, is that?
Yeah, we're just going to say definitely no Torah study on the 21st.
If I'm back, I can do it, but yes, Amy.
What is the date of Sue's surgery?
Oh, it's after we get back from it's a few days after we get back from our trip. I can it doesn't matter, Amy. I understand why, but it's all right. It's all right. But I just wanted to it
But
uh
May 21st is not Shabbat.
No, June 21st.
Oh, I'm
June.
sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the one that we're not here.
Right.
Right.
Right. So
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 I'll lead the next three. And then
right,
a month from today, Rabbi Miri can lead.
Yeah,
right,
And then the 21st, we're probably not going to meet at all.
right.
right.
Okay.
So, unless, if I can do it, I don't mind, but it's up
No,
in the air.
Sue's health and needs come first.
Yeah, well, that's why I say it depends on how
Right,
rapid she recovers from
right.
everything. So I just wanted to be sure that everyone knew. Okay. Thank
Okay.
you, Norman,
Then,
and
continue well. I wish everyone Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
And,
shalom.
to Norman.
and we'll see you
Shabbat
again
shalom.
soon. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Take,
Bye-bye.
take care.
And read that book, Norman. It's just fascinating.
I'm glad that we had that discussion. I'll send a note to Stacy that um, I will let her know when I'm back if we can if we can meet on the 21st. So you just want to read the note that comes for that week. If she'll either say there's no meeting or there will be, and we'll see how things go. Uh, okay, so we still have a while, and what we're about to do is if it's a very long passage, okay, and basically it's a rehash of the journey taken by the Israelites on leaving Egypt to where they are now. And it's stating everything again. Rabbi Mary, do you have a book in front of you that you could read
Yes.
that? Because it has lots of names and you won't stumble over them like we
Okay.
will.
So we want
We
33.
are on 33, verse 1, and we will go through to the end of, uh, well, if you can do it all, that's fine to
I'll
go
do
through
it fast.
to 56, or we can, if you get tired, one of us will pick up after you.
Yeah, and oh, stop me. I'll do this fast.
Okay.
Okay, so we have Parashat Masei, right?
Oh, right. Well, we're going to be Numbers 33, verse 1.
1. These are the journeys of the children of Israel who went forth from the land of Egypt according to their legions under the hands of Moshe and Aaron. Moshe wrote their goings forth according to their journeys at the bidding of Hashem. And these were journeys according to their goings forth. They journeyed from Ramses in the first month on the 15 days of the first month, on the day after the Pesach offering.
Right.
The children of Israel went forth with an upraised hand before the eyes of Egypt. And the Egyptians were bearing those among them who Adonai had struck every firstborn and their gods. Adonai had inflicted punishment. The children of Israel journeyed from Ramses and encamped in Sukkot. Their journey from Sukkot and encamped in Etham, which is on the edge of the wilderness. The journey from Etham and it turned back to Piairot, which is before Baal Zephon, and they encamped before Migdal. They journeyed from before Hariot and passed through the midst of the sea towards the wilderness. That's the Sea of Reeds.
Right.
They went on 3 days' trip into the wilderness of Etham, and they encamped in Marah. Marah is the place in which the kids wanted water, and the water became bitter. That's one of the places that Moshe took them. They
Right.
journeyed from Marah and arrived in Elim, and Elim were 12 springs of water and 70 date palms, and they encamped there. They journeyed from Elim and encamped in the Sea of Reeds. They journeyed from the Sea of Reeds and encamped in the wilderness of Tzin. They journeyed from the wilderness of Tzin and encamped at Dovka. They journeyed from Dovka and encamped in Alush. They journeyed from Alush and encamped in Rephidim. Now, Rephidim, interesting, is in the Sinai desert, and this is where there was a big air base built by the USA and Israel to have that in case that Egypt was starting trouble. So it's in the middle of the Sinai.
Right.
And it was turned back to Egypt when they signed a peace.
Right.
And there was no water there for the people to drink. They journeyed from Rephidim and encamped in the wilderness of Sinai. And they journeyed from the wilderness of Sinai and encamped in Kibrot Atava. They journeyed from Kivrot Atava and encamped in Hatzerot. They journeyed from Hatzerot and encamped in Ritma. They journey from Ritma and encamped in. I suggest that we skip some of these, if you don't mind, Marty,
Okay.
unless you want to go on and on. Okay, why don't we go to verse 50? When they encamped by the Jordan from Bet Yeshimot until the plains of Shittim in the plains of Moab. Okay, so now they are near Moab.
Okay.
And Shittim is by the Jordan. Hashem
Right.
spoke to Moshe in the plains of Moab by the Yarden at Jericho, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you cross the Jordan to the land of Canaan, you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land before you, and you shall destroy their prostrations, stones, all their molten images shall you destroy, and all their high places shall we demolish. You shall possess the land, and you shall settle in, for to you have given the land to possess it. You shall give the land as an inheritance by lot to your families, to the many, many, many. You shall increase its inheritance, and the few shall decrease the inheritance. Wherever the lot shall fall, his shall be. According to the tribes of your father, you shall inherit, but you not drive out the inhabitants of the land before you. Those of them whom you leave shall be pins in your eyes, with a pain in your butt, eyes, and thorns on your side. That's the sentence in Hebrew when you want to say a pain in your neck. This is
That's
what you
right.
say, the thorns on your sides. And they will harass you upon the land in which you dwell. And it shall be that what I meant to do to them, I shall do to you. Okay, so that's what they are doing to Jericho, and those that came to the study of Joshua know about this. It didn't look exactly like this. It's actually very interesting how they conquered Jericho.
Mm-hmm. The the question is, why is it necessary to repeat all of this? All of the places that they've wandered. We've been reading this for several months now about the journey. But why are some of the, where, can you think of any reasons why this would be very important? Well, I'll get you started in thinking. Maybe It's because you're setting the boundaries that they passed through as future territory to hold.
Oh,
Not just the land of Canaan, but are we looking at far into the future? Several thousand years? Could it be that we don't forget that this journey has been very arduous? Even Rabbi Miri said, could we asked if she could skip over going through all these different places.
It's one of the central themes, I think, that you're,
Water is very important here.
yeah,
Yes,
water,
it's
but
repeated
the
again and again.
the theme of repetition, it's not just where they've traveled. It's a lot of what is given in the first 5 books of the scripture that we're studying, where things are repeated on almost every level. And I think the idea to reinforce our understanding of this is behind that repetition.
Okay, very good. Amy.
well, besides being part of the historical record, they may have been influenced by some of these cities that they went through. They have maybe learned things or adapted things from these cities and brought some of that knowledge or jewelry or culture or whatever with them along the way.
Or they learned the lessons that of what not to do. Okay,
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And the different, because each location is a different story about what can happen if you don't follow the rules.
Mhm.
Again, looking to the future. In other words, stop looking at the past, but continue to look to the future. There are more possibilities. And maybe that's another part of it. Yes, Amy.
They may have made allies in some of these.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, there is a group that they did actually.
Yes.
One group they did, this group realized how strong Israel is, and they disguised themselves in certain way and came to Joshua and said, you know, let us be with you, we'll be your servants, etc., etc., because they were afraid of what might happen to them based on what Bnei Israel were doing to all the rest of the people. Now, the issue of Canaan, Canaan is the whole area, and all these names are cities. And a city is like a village. So if they had to conquer the entire thing, they had to go through all of these places. If you listen to the news and we listen to what's going on in Gaza, you're going to see that they talk about Khan Yunis and they talk about this and they talk about that, but we're talking about Gaza, or in Hebrew is Gaza, the entire area. But each area has a different name because whatever. It's like here, like you have Pima County, and in Pima County you have Marana and Tucson and whatever, whatever. So it's not that it's much, it's a different people that we are conquering. It's the same people in different places. They don't talk about people, they talk about places.
Yes.
So I don't know if all of them are Canaanites. That's my opinion, but maybe not.
Okay. So it's, any other ideas? But anyway, I thought it would be something to at least think about that. The other thing is there are several things that are repeated quite often in Torah. And it's I truly believe it's there so we do not forget it. That we don't forget the stories behind each one of these places. And as Rabbi Mary said, hey, what about the people? Maybe that's part of the story that we quite often forget. We dehumanize all of things. And maybe we need to humanize it more. Because each one of these places have an importance. We saw the stories related to those places. And so maybe that's something we have to remember. I
Even
don't
the
know.
Ten Commandments are repeated.
What was it? Was that, David? I missed it.
I just wanted to say that even something as important as the Ten Commandments are repeated.
Yes, yes. And actually, it's repeated in multiple ways. It's not just there are different stories that symbolize each one of these commandments. What happens if you don't follow the rules, the basic commandments? And that's another way of looking at Torah. I wish Helene was still with us because then we could talk about human psychology and why it's necessary to be consistent and repetitive, in everything. Teachers would understand that. So, any other comments? Okay, now we can read a little slower, not too much slower, but let's see if we can. We'll see how far we get. David, since you're with us, we're now on Numbers 34, verses 1 to the end of verse 9.
Okay. There we go, 1 to 9. And the Lord spoke unto Moses by Deber and Oil Moshe Lamor, saying, Command the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come unto the land of Canaan, this shall be the land that shall fall unto you for an inheritance, even the land of Canaan, according to the borders thereof. Thus your south side shall be from the wilderness of Zin, close by the side of Edom, and your southern border, your south border, shall be at the end of the Salt Sea eastward. I think they're meaning the Salt Sea, meaning the Dead Sea, as we refer to it now. And your border shall turn out southward of the ascent of Abrabim, and pass along to Zin. And the goings out thereof shall be southward of Kadesh Barnea, and it shall go forth to Hazar Adar, and pass along to Aslan. And the borders shall turn about from Aslan unto the brook of Egypt, and the goings out thereof shall be at the sea. And for the western border, you shall have the great sea for a border. This shall be your west border.
Now, the
this
Great Sea is the Mediterranean.
Mediterranean, yes,
Mediterranean.
that's right.
And this shall be your north border from the great sea. You shall mark out your line unto Mount Hor. From Mount Hor you shall mark out a line unto the entrance of Hamath. And the going
Now, Hamath is what used to be Syria and now is Israel. It's a very beautiful area in the Golan Heights.
Right.
Thank you. Mark out a line under the entrance to Hamath, and the going side of the border shall be at Zalad, and the border shall go forth to Zipron, and the goings out thereof shall be at Hazar Anan, and this shall be your north border.
Okay. David, why don't you read to the end of verse 12?
All right. And you shall mark out your line from the east border from Hazaranan to Shephan, and the border shall go down from Shephan to Riblah on the east side of Ain, and the border shall go down and shall strike upon the slope of the sea of Chinnereth eastward, and the border shall go down to the Jordan, and the goings out thereof shall be at the South Sea. This shall be your land according to the borders thereof round about.
And so you need an assayer, to walk around and to figure out, back then they would have to pace all of this out and set up the boundaries.
Well, you know what, Marty? Have you been to Israel?
No.
David, Amy, Marty, you haven't been? Okay, so the borders that are mentioned here are very, very, very much the borders of Israel.
Yes.
And what you can see is that the border ends in the Jordan River. They were not instructed to have a border on the west of
Correct.
that's where the settlements are sitting there, because it said God gave us this land, which if we read this, it's not true. So they go all the way from the Jordan ends in the Dead Sea.
Mhm.
Now at the Dead Sea, that's the end of the Jordan. And then they go down, and that's Edom. Edom comes from the word Adam, and Dam, red. And these mountains are red, and that's why when we get all the way down to the Sea of Reeds, in Hebrew, in other languages, the Red Sea. Now, the Red Sea is called like that because in the evening, the mountains reflect on the sea and it becomes like reddish. And that's the place in which is the border with Egypt. So it's from Egypt, they go up to the Great Sea, to the Mediterranean. So that's the west, all the Mediterranean line where Tel Aviv is and Haifa is and all those things go all the way to the north. And then east of that is what's today Syria. And that's the Golan Heights that has been conquered during the 6-day war because the Syrians were shooting down to all the kibbutzim that were in the valley. Syria is high up. That's why we call the Golan Heights. It was a very dangerous and difficult area for the people living underneath. So from there, it goes back to the Jordan. And as I said now, the Jordan River was the border, was not on the other side of the Jordan. So all of those claiming, oh, God gave us both sides of the Jordan, I'm not sure that that's the truth.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes, Amy.
I thought, and I'm probably wrong, but I thought the tribes split with 2 on the east side of the Jordan and 10 on the west side of the Jordan, with the agricultural tribes being those 2, eventually called called the Lost Tribes of Israel. I have been to Jordan, and that's as close as I've gotten to
The
Israel.
Jordan River, yeah.
And I've been to the Jordan River and the Dead Sea. So didn't God give us both sides?
Well, that's the thing. In this, what we read, he did not. But in Joshua, you see that Reuben was on the west side of the Jordan.
Right.
Gad was on the west side of the Jordan.
Mhm.
And Manasseh and Ephraim split. Half of them went to this side and half of them were to the other side. And it was a very fertile land because they had the river. So if they are the lost tribes or not, I cannot answer that question. I think that that's in another realm. But the Galilee, the upper side of Israel and the border on the Mediterranean is very fertile land. The only one that's desert is at the bottom that goes from Edom to Egypt. That's the desert. We
Right.
call it Negev. The Negev is very dry, which is a very interesting, I need to share this with you. The root of the word Negev is to dry. And a towel, it's called magevet, from the same root. Lenagev is to dry, and the desert is called Negev. So that triangle that goes out there.
Right.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Did you go to Petra, Amy?
Of course.
I would like, it's amazing, huh?
It's stunning. I mean, you just stand there with your jaw open,
Yeah.
and just turn around and look. It's absolutely incredible.
I saw it only in movies.
It has to be experienced to truly be appreciated.
Most things you have to see for yourself. Yes, that's right. Okay. Then let's see. Michael, would you be able to read? Welcome back. I know you have to usually put drops in your eyes and like that. So if you could read verses 13 all the way through the end of 29.
Let me see where we
It's a
are.
long one. We are on Numbers 34, verse 13.
Yeah. No, I better not.
Oh, okay.
I better not.
David, would you be able to?
Me?
Could you read from verses 13 all the way through the end of verse 29?
Really? Okay. And Moses commanded the children of Israel, saying, This is the land wherein ye shall receive inheritance by lot, which the Lord hath commanded to give you unto the 9 tribes, and to the half tribe, to the tribe of the children of Reuben according to their fathers' houses, and the tribe of the children of Gad according to their fathers' houses have received, and the half tribe of Manasseh have received their inheritance. The 2 tribes and the half tribe have received their inheritance beyond the Jordan, at Jericho eastward, toward the sun rising. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, These are the names of the men that shall take possession of the land for you. Eleazar the priest, and Joshua the son of Nun. And we shall take one prince of every tribe, take possession of the land. And these are the names of the men of the tribe of Judah: Caleb the son of Jephunneh, and of the tribe of the children of Shimon, Shmuel the son of Ammihud; of the tribe of Benjamin, Eladad the son of Chislon; from the tribe of the children of Dan, a prince, Buki the son of Jogli; of the children of Joseph, of the tribe of the children of Manasseh, a prince, Aniel the son of Ephod; from the tribe of the children of Ephraim, a prince, Kemuel the son of Shiphtime; and of the tribe of the children of Zebulun, a prince, Elizaphan the son of Hanoch; and of the tribe of the children of Issachar, a prince, Paltiel the son of Azan; and of the tribe of the children of Asher, a prince, Ahihud the son of Shalomi; and of the tribe of the children of Naphtah, a prince, Paldel the son of Ammihud. These are they whom the Lord commanded to divide the inheritance unto the children of Israel in the land of Canaan.
Any comments?
I mean, this might be repeated, but this is really the clearest example yet where the borders of, of Israel are being delimited and they're being named, and it's pretty important stuff.
It is. It is. And again, everything is being repeated. What was promised was what was said again and again, and now it's done. Okay. So it is the repetition is there for us to remember all of that. And if you fast forward to the modern day, in the UN Accord that established the state of Israel, you can now understand the boundaries, how this entered into the thinking of the Zionists, but also of the people who were of European descent following World War II. And by the way, this area that for the modern day Israel is not the only location that was considered by the UN. There was land in Kenya. There was land in Uganda, to name a couple.
It's the Zionist group. It's
Yes.
not the UN. It's the Zionist Congress that they suggested either Uganda or Argentina.
That too.
Yeah.
Argentina is another one. And these were all debated in the that ultimately it was decided for as a homeland that it would be just to have the land of Israel be established with its biblical heritage. But there were other considerations that did have to go into the formula and the discussions. It's very interesting. If you think about it, it would have going into other areas in Africa, you would have run into the same discussions about who owns the land and everything else. Same thing in Argentina. It's a very difficult discussion and but hopefully there will be some peaceful solutions, sooner than later. Anyway,
Why would it be a difficult discussion?
it'll be a long discussion.
No, but you used the word difficult. You said it would be a difficult discussion. I want to focus on that word for a minute. Why did you use the word difficult?
Well, you're imposing things on other people and other lands, to name one. In two, there are different. You have to at least understand. You may not agree, but at least understand where other groups of people are coming from in these debates, and it's not the solution is not easy. It is not easy, no matter what they could come up with.
Very difficult.
It is. It is. So anyway, let's see. We have 15 minutes. I think that there's too much packed into this. I was
Yeah.
hoping to be able to finish the book of Numbers, but there's too much packed into Numbers 35.
Yeah.
I think we will have to save it, and maybe Rabbi Norman can pick up there.
Yeah.
I think that would be a very good discussion, because there are multiple areas that could take the entire time. Actually, 35, and if you do get to 36, that there's more repetition there, but some of the discussions here about cities of refuge and things like that are too much. It's way too much to cover in 10 minutes. So with that, I would say Shabbat Shalom, and I want to wish everyone a very healthy and peaceful month until I see you again. Okay. And Rabbi Murray, thank you. I'm going to send out a note to Stacy
Yeah.
about the 21st of June.
Yeah.
And that it's iffy. And so at this point, we're not going to meet, but if I can change it, I will, and we'll pick up after that. And I want to thank you, Mary, also for being able to pick up one of those weeks.
Thank you.
So everyone, be well.
Shabbat Shalom.
Give our
Shabbat
best to
Shalom.
Sue.
And Marty
I will
and Sue,
thank
have
you.
a safe and happy
Thank you,
trip.
Marty.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
very
Oh,
much.
Michael, before you go, Michael, how is Betty doing?
I was about to say, and thank you for asking. She's one day, is a little better than others, but basically the same.
Okay, but she's over her illness and all that.
No, she's not over anything. She's just one day is better and one day is
Okay,
she's dealing with it better. As
okay,
time goes by, she has a better handle on her problem, and she seems to do a little better with it. But the problem is there, unfortunately, and it's going to remain. And that's just a fact. Just have to be that way. But
okay,
she handles it a little better all the time.
good. Wish her well.
And you too, and you and Sue,
Okay.
thanks very much.
And everyone, you take care.
Thank you, Marty.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.